Alright, well, I'm working on a '02 Silverado. Had mice up in the heater casing, and when I turned the fan on, all the stuff started blowing out of the defroster ducts. So I've got the truck apart, and I'm going to hit on a few of the highlights to repair and put the dash back in, and I'm going to show you how you can take the whole dash out, basically like the dealer does it in one big piece. Now, if you don't want to disconnect some of the electrical that goes into the fuse panel underneath the hood or the wiper motor, you got to take the cowl off. I've seen people where they just loosen the dash up and set it up on the seat, and then they can get access to this heater case right here and take the heater case out. But I opted to take the complete dash out of it so I could show you this. I looked around on the internet and I didn't find any good videos on how to get the dash out. So right now, if you look in this area on the heater case, this is where it takes its fresh air in underneath the cowl out front. Now if you had a mouse nest in here, then you would know the mice was coming in at the cowl area and then building their nest here in the blower motor and stuff like that. The nest I had was in the center outlet on the heater case right here, where it goes into the center of the defroster ducts and goes up onto the windshield, and then also it'll blow on the floor. So the nest I had was right in here, which tells me that they didn't come in from the cowl area. They must have been inside the truck and come up through the where it blows off on the floor, or went in down through the defroster ducts. So one of the problems I had when I took this out is some of the screws had to have nuts on it underneath on the firewall. The threads were rusty. So when I turned it to take the nut off, it stripped out, took the big, like a big lag screw that goes into plastic here. Well, it stripped it out inside of this, and there's two of them, one here and one here. And I'm just going to put some silicone in there, and then that will seal it, because it's slightly loose now on the firewall, so I don't want water coming in there. So I'm going to put some silicone on it, and then when I tighten the other ones up, it'll just grab a hold of it again and it'll be fine. Okay, so I wanted to let you guys see something else. If you just are watching this video to replace the heater core itself, you're going to have to let the freon out of it so you can take the pipes off the evaporator right here. And you can have to pull it away, because this goes underneath a little bit and you can't get this cover off and the heater core out. There's two screws right here. You pull this cover off, and then you can slide the heater core out of the heater case if that's all you're replacing. So as far as that goes, I did split the heater case in half because I had to power wash it and get all the mice residue and what have you out of it. And they use there's a seal, it's a tongue and groove, where the heater case goes together, and they have some kind of a clear elastic glue or something that they use. I've done heater cores for years, and we always use 3M strip caulk. So I took my 3M strip caulk and I run it around that channel right there, and then when I screwed it back together, it sealed it, and it can still be taken apart if ever need be again, and it'll keep any air from blowing out or anything like that. So the heater case is ready to go back in right now. It's all put together. There's only one piece that is not on it. You can see all the blower motor, resistor, floor heat. This is the duct work for floor heat. The only duct that is not on it is the duct that goes on here, and that blows air underneath the steering column at the driver. So that's the only piece that I don't have on here. Alright, I wanted to show you a few things in the truck. I wanted to show you one of the studs. There's a stud there was spinning and took the threads out of the heater case. Right there's one, and then there's one right here. And I'm not going to mess with them. Hell, I could spend probably an hour trying to get them back in the heater case and all that. And there's enough other bolts, so we're just going to not worry about that too much. This is where the case drain goes for the AC. It'll let the evaporator drip out and it had some rust around that, so I scraped the rust off and put a little primer, epoxy primer on it. Try to knock the rust down a little bit. Now this here is your antenna for your radio. That's the lead-in right there. That unplugs on the corner of the dash right here. Also useful if you're changing a broken mount, an antenna base. Sometimes they'll break off in a car wash or something. You can remove this A-pillar piece of plastic off the A-pillar, and you can find this connector on the dash right there and replace the base, chasing it in and out with a piece of mechanics wire. So I've seen people tear the dash apart trying to fix that, and all they have to do is take this cover off, and they can take and unplug it right here at the corner and replace the base. Now you'll see these are the screws right here along the top. That's what holds it in at the very top of the dash. There's also 2 bolts here on the aluminum piece that goes over the steering column. There's 2 bolts here. There's a bolt down here for the dash that you have to take out, and there's 3 bolts over here on the dash, big ones. You take the 15-headed ones out. You don't even have to take the 10mm ones out. There's a ground wire here. You can also see where I have the harness taped to the windshield. This lays on top of the dash, and you have 2 plug-ins on top of the dash. I didn't want to get it caught underneath when I put the dash in place, so I got it taped to the windshield here. Okay, I also wanted to talk about this hole right here. This is where the main harness goes out to the underhood fuse panel. So you have to pull that out when you want to take the whole dash. Also, there's a left foot relay center is what they call it. You'll have to disconnect some of these modular plugs out of it right here, and don't worry about where the modular plugs go, because they'll only go in the recess they're supposed to. You can't get them mixed up, so don't just pull them out of there. Don't worry about it. And then you'll have to take this out because that stays with the dashboard. Now this is the 2 hidden bolts right here. They're the big bolts, just like here on the sides. 15mm head. I had everything apart on this, and I still couldn't get the dash out. And it's because there was 2 15mm headed bolts right here. You can't see it because of all the defroster work and everything. So if you know where they're at, and I couldn't find a good place on the internet that would show me that. I looked at lots of different videos and nobody pointed this out to me. 2 15-headed bolts right here and right here. You take them out, and then I was able to get the dash out. Also, there's one other thing I want to bring up. There's one harness that I did cut, so I didn't have to take the seat and the flooring out. You're either going to have to take a vinyl floor or a carpet out if you don't want to cut this. There's no plug. So what I did is I cut the wires a short length and then a longer length. I staggered them, so when I put them back together, it won't be one big wad in the middle. It'll be a repair in a section of wire, and it stands up vertically, so it ain't like it's going to get full of mud and salt and everything. Like if I cut it down in this area here, it's actually a vertical area. It stands up like right in this area. So that's the only wires you have to cut to take the whole complete dash out. If you don't want to take the complete dash out, I've seen a lot of people, they'll take them out and set them on the seat at an angle so they can get at the heater case. To take the top off the dashboard, you have to remove the grab handle. So to remove the grab handle, you have to pry the vents out. You'll see, you take a screwdriver and you pry the vent out from the top side. Here's the grab handle we're talking about right here. Everybody's seen it. It snaps in. Okay, these are the 2 vents I'm talking about right here. And they go into the top cover. They push into the top cover is all. There's no screw or anything. I pried them up from the bottom and got them out, or you can pry them from the top and get them out. I don't think it matters. These are the little locks that lock it in, and it just wedges it. Alright, you don't have to push them down or anything. You just pry it and pull it out. Now, once you get these out, for the grab handle, there's a little notch on the grab handle. So anyway, there's a little white button right here. That's why you have to take the vents out. The top of the dash is still going to be on it right now at this point. You reach your hand in here, push in on that, you can pull it this way, push in on that one, you pull it that way, and then you can slide it out of there. Then you can take the top cover off. Of course, you'll have to take off anything in your way and take the screws out of it. There's screws in the front side of it, and it just pushes in. This dash here has everything still on it. None of this stuff has to come apart. You don't have to take the radio, the heater, you don't have to take any of this stuff out. That can stay. Even the glove box can stay. But I had to take mine off because I couldn't get it apart, so there was a lot of extra stuff that got taken apart. A lot of people take the airbag out for no reason. That does not have to come out to do a heater core job. You can leave the airbag in it. There's no reason to take it out of there. Matter of fact, the airbag has to go in before the top cover goes on it. So, none of this switches over here, none of that stuff has to come out. I had to disassemble it just about as far as I could for the reason of taking it to the car wash. I had to power wash this at the car wash to get all the mice out of it. They had used all my defroster duct work and what have you, and they'd run through that, and it was very disgusting. So that's the reason I had it all tore apart. I put it back together to this point just to show you what it's going to look like. You don't have to take everything apart like a lot of people do. I've seen people taking the screws out. They was calling them backward screws out of the back side of the dashboard. That's because the dashboard was built in the factory and all the screws was put in from the back side, and here they are trying to take the screws out backwards to get it apart. And they've got the harness all taken out. We'd be lucky to get that stuff back together the way it's supposed to be if you're going to do that. So this here, I just wanted to show you what it looks like. You are going to have to take the steering column out of it. It ain't that big a deal. There's a few bolts. I'll show you that later on in the video. Here's your harness right here. This is the piece that goes through the firewall. It looks like a dart. Hit that with a little WD-40 and it'll just pull right in. That's your left foot relay center. All the plugs plug into it, and they'll only plug in the ones that they'll go in. If it won't fit, it has to go in another one. They got a key on it, plastic key. Right there, this is the piece that goes in underneath your fuse block, under the hood. That unscrews out of the fuse block, 7mm headed bolt. You unscrew the bolt, you got to pry it a little bit with a screwdriver, and it'll pop right out of there. This is some other plugs right there that was alongside the in the fuse panel area. Pretty much self-explanatory when you start pulling the stuff apart. Also, you will have to disconnect the wiper motor. That goes to the wiper motor, and then this goes to the underhood light. So you'll have to take a little brace off for the wiper motor to get at the plug. And then everything comes right out of it. You can take the dash right out of the vehicle. This is that one area I was showing you where I cut the wires at different lengths. It goes inside of this little plastic case like that, and then these darts actually put it in a vertical position right on the post, right on the door pillar. And the only other thing I wanted to show you was a little plug for the ambient light sensor. This would operate the daylight, running lights, and the headlights, the automatic headlights that turn on and off. There's a little bubble on top of the dash cover, and that's the sensor wire. You have to disconnect the sensor wire when you take the top dash pad off.